Welcome to How We Heard It, the podcast about music, pop culture, movies, and more, with your hosts Wayne Bledsoe and Chuck Campbell.
Guten Tag, this is Chuck Campbell with How We Heard It. And I'm here with
Wayne Bledsoe.
And I'm John Baker.
Do we need to redo that?
No.
Okay.
I don't speak any foreign languages. I love that, you start that way.
Just pull it. Okay. Well,
You're the most worldly person here.
I'm the most worldly person. Oh, we're in trouble then. That's bad news.
You've been to more countries than all of us.
Yeah. So our topic today is we're ad-libbing because this is episode 52. We've come full circle, and we've been going at this for a year now. Mm-hmm. Can you believe it?
I can't believe it.
Yeah, I looked back over the list of the subjects, and it was like, I can't believe we've talked about as many things as we have, and we still have so much more to talk about.
I know. It still feels like we're just like, oh, my God, there's so much stuff we can talk about, and we're just starting it. We're just figuring out what, it's like we've been doing this a year now. We've actually... Yeah. I've gotten notes from people saying, hey, your podcast has gone longer than most. And it's like, really? Because it still feels like we've just started. But I have noticed a lot of people, they'll start a podcast and they'll end after 3 or 4 episodes.
That's a very old story.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you realize once you do one, how much work it is.
Right.
I'm not working. I don't know what you guys are doing.
Well, yeah, we know we're carrying you.
There were only 2 footprints in the sand. That was because we were carrying you.
It's because we were carrying you.
I weigh more than that. It would have been deeper, those footprints. I was just like floating.
All right. Well, we'll pass on the footprints in the sand business. So it's been a year,
right.
And we started talking about it a few months.
Has it?
Yeah, it's been a year.
It has been a year.
Notwithstanding anything we're doing here, but it has been a year. And this podcast kind of came about as a trial thing. My company, we were working on some projects, and I was talking with my partner. We hit my business partner, and we hit a kind of a limbo period where what we had been working on, some partners that we're working with some time opened up for me, and right. I was like coming up with future plans and what we could do. And he was like, well, what would you like to do? And I thought, wow, with my journalism and experience, there are a lot of ideas. And one of the ones that came up was podcasting. And he said, well, what would you podcast about? And I thought about it, and I just immediately thought, well, Wayne, we could podcast about music because we are 2 long-standing veteran music critics, and there aren't many of those out there anymore, and they're certainly not, friends who are in the same town.
And who have such different opinions on it.
We have such different opinions, but...
Well, you guys always say that, but I don't really think you do. Well, I mean, there's differences.
Yeah.
We agree on a lot.
Yeah.
But the things we disagree on are pretty huge.
Yeah, and we remember those better when we disagree. I'll be like, hey, did you hear that new B-52's album? Oh, yeah. How about the new Madonna album? Oh, I can't believe you listened.
I'm so used to it now. But that was, one of the things, because we were talking about what we've learned. I learned you weren't as obsessed with Madonna as I thought you were.
No.
I always thought that was other than ABBA, it was like that was your peak.
No, I mean, my devotion to Kate Bush is way beyond Madonna. Madonna was just, I admire her. I think she was an important figure for music in the 80s and 90s. She helped set up this big wave of women musicians who were more in control. I liked the way she could always change, keep changing and keep producing. She was very ambitious and very driven, just a great, business person.
Right.
And, her personality, bold again, and, not being rolled over by men whatsoever, unless she wants to. And, but, her music, I've really loved some of her songs, and some of albums, it's like I didn't think I liked anything on it, So I wasn't living and breathing Madonna like you thought. But I enjoyed you thinking that, so I was fine with you, going on and on.
Yeah, well.
What else have you learned?
I've learned how out of touch I am with a whole lot of the new music. And I've also come to appreciate, there comes a point when you get to a certain age where it's like, I'm having a real tough time relating to this new music.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Because it's like, I've been through so much more than the people that are singing.
Yeah.
It's like, Yeah, it kind of sounds like kids.
Yeah.
Even people who were in their 40s.
But you know that this music that you liked when you were in the 20s, in your 20s, people could say the same thing.
Oh,
you know?
sure.
Oh, they just sound like kids.
I just
They
think
were-
this is a cyclical
Continuum.
nature of music style.
And that age is different for everybody, too.
Yeah.
You know, it's like some people, people, way younger, or people my age, stopped listening to music like 20 years ago.
Right.
It's like, wow, you don't have any idea what's happening now. And I'm still going at it, and I still feel excitement and everything, not loving everything. And it's not that I'm impatient with young people who are just falling in love and kind of acting stupid about it, because I know this is something that everyone goes through.
Right.
So why, blame them for feeling what they're feeling when we all felt it at one point?
Well, I think that sometimes it comes through. It's so somebody really young is what they're experiencing, what they're delivering sounds so honest and raw.
Yeah.
That I can connect with that.
Sure.
But a lot of what's out now is what's popular anyway is so just plain commercial.
Right.
I mean, it feels like product. I don't always feel like there's a soul behind it.
Oh, there is. I feel I can always hear that in the voice or the guitar solo or whatever. I hear that and I'm like, oh, that's great. Have you listened to Olivia Rodrigo yet?
I was just thinking about Olivia Rodrigo.
I've been hitting you up for a year.
I've listened to a couple of songs and I liked them. I didn't go crazy over them, but I need to listen to a whole album. I haven't listened to a whole album.
She's very bright.
And
she's
do
done
people
all of
put
her
out
research.
albums anymore?
They do. It's a whole different experience, though, because an album comes out, like we were talking about in our Blockbuster Albums episode. An album comes out and all the songs are on the chart instantly, and then they're gone within a few months.
Yeah.
It's not the old-fashioned model where it'll be on the charts for 2 years and
release a single every 5 months or something.
And they're going to they'll put it on vinyl and not on CD.
Yeah.
And of course, everybody's listening over there.
You can dig around. You can usually find CD if you dig hard enough, even for today's stuff. But you got to go to like their personal websites, and they print it out. They manufactured like 50, so you have to get them when they've got one. So it's hard. And the big major ones you can still find at Target if you want.
Oh yeah, Target has a big bunch of them now.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing that works for us though is we can talk about music and we can disagree, and you're one of the few people I can talk to and disagree with and not feel like I'm getting into a trap. It's like I generally avoid confrontation, not because I'm afraid of confrontation, but I tend to mirror anyone who's confronting me. Mm-hmm. So if they're all nervous about confronting me, then I'm not going to confront them, and we just tiptoe around each other. And if someone just comes head on at me, I'm like, all right, mother, we're going at it. It's going at it. I'm not taking hostages. If you push me, and I don't get furious much, but if I get all over the top, I'll fight back. But with you, you're one of the few people that we can disagree, and we can disagree heatedly. Yeah. And I never feel like anything's been violated. I never feel betrayed. Right. I never feel like we're going to lose respect for each other in any way. And I think that keeps us going, And one thing, just from all of our conversations and all the years and everything, when I said, when we talked about it, and we found out pretty quickly, just talking on the phone, that we can do this. Let's just try it. Let's see what happens. And we knew we were going to have to record and everything, and you just immediately thought of John, and you wanted to introduce me to John. And I knew from the transparency, we've always been real honest with each other. I thought, and you were saying, I'm sure you'll get along with him. And I don't always get along with people because I'm like, I'm that mirror. I'm waiting to,
right.
And but when you said that, I thought, I know I will. And we went to lunch together, and John, you were there. And it's just like, I've known you forever too, and
it was amazing. And Wayne had to go back to work, and we stayed
there
for at least another hour.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, Wayne just had time to drop in and hustle off, and you had to get like a spare tire or something. You had that going on. And
I can't remember what I was doing.
You were just all harried, and you took off, and we just talked and talked and talked.
I think that was necessary.
Yeah, it was.
We needed to get to know each other if we're going to be doing this.
Yeah, if we just awkwardly, wandered off immediately, then I don't know if we'd be like where we are. But
I just feel like, I've said this to you off mic, but I've known Wayne for a number of years. You guys have known each other longer than I've even known Wayne. Yeah. But But you and I just have only known each other for about a year.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I've made a friend.
Yeah, I do too. I feel like I've known you for way longer. I don't know.
And I appreciate, because originally the first, I don't know how many episodes, I didn't have a microphone.
Right.
And I was like biting my tongue. I was like, but, and y'all just said, string up a mic. And I'm so grateful for that.
You're a good, I don't think we don't disappear. We don't disagree so much, but we're just in different worlds and what kind of music we like and what kind of music we know about. And you're kind of like right there in the middle, and you know things I'm talking about that Wayne doesn't know.
There's a Spinal Tap joke in here. Because you're like fire and he's like ice. And my job is to be like lukewarm water.
There we go. But Wayne, Wayne will start talking about something. I'll get lost, and you and I will make eye contact, and I can tell, like, is this really someone, or is he making this up? And sometimes you're looking at me like, I don't know who the hell he's talking about.
I'm not making it up.
One-eyed Jimmy and his
One-eyed Jimmy and the two-string guitar, hunt for worms.
Well, and I think Chuck, you and I are the same age.
Yeah.
Wayne's
Don't
not that.
start.
I'm not. But you are a little older, just a little, couple years.
How old are you?
61.
See, I'm 65. So
Yeah.
Well, so
you're my
thing
older
is-
sister's age.
yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like Wayne just was like a generation ahead. He was like in my mom and dad's generation just because of how soon. And this was what I thought was going to handicap me, is that Wayne was learning about music as a kid, and I didn't even care until,
And that's the crossover between me and Wayne,
Yeah,
too. Because
exactly.
I've been collecting records since I was
Exactly.
12 years old, and I had an older brother and older sister, big music
Yeah.
fans. My mom's a music fan.
Yeah.
We always had music around.
But see, I didn't pay that much attention to the charts.
No.
We're the total opposite.
Yeah.
And I never paid attention to
Right.
the charts either.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
yeah.
I would like read Rolling Stone or, you know, Crawdaddy or whatever was out there. And
Daddy. Is Crawdaddy real?
it's real.
Okay.
It was a real
I remember seeing the dying embers of
Pitchfork.
Crawdaddy.
Yeah. But, and I had an older sister, and, she had friends. When she'd have parties, I'd listen to all their records that they'd
Right.
leave, and,
Right.
because they wouldn't take them home that night.
Well, all my peers were my age. None of them were very serious about it. We all liked music.
Yeah.
None of us were very serious about it. I wasn't studying it. I wasn't, it was just something happening in the background of my life.
Meanwhile, I had a Victrola and was buying 78s.
Yeah. And I didn't know what a Victrola or a 78 was. So yeah. So that's why we're, and my job was, part of the definition of what I was doing was, to talk about today's people and the
Right.
charts and the popular people and mainstream, and you were finding special music for dedicated fans and history and all of that stuff. So we really complemented each other well as writers.
I have to tell you a funny story. I don't know if I tell you this or not. Back fairly early to when you got to the News Sentinel and you were editing, what was the college things?
Oh, Detours on Campus.
Detours on Campus. So that was for all the really young people.
Yeah.
So I wasn't writing for Detours on Campus.
No.
I was writing for 50 Plus.
Yeah. Yes.
My additional writing, I was doing that.
The geriatric column.
And I was, of course, I was writing I did a column on music, on like old music.
Yeah.
And the lady who lived or had a house across the street, she'd come back to feed her feral cats like every day.
Yeah.
And I'd go out and talk to her. And she was in her late 80s at the time.
Right.
And she was hip to everybody I was writing about. She would talk to me about my column every time it came out.
Right,
And
right.
tell me that she saw Fats Waller and all these different people.
Well, I think 50 Plus outlasted Detours on Campus. 50 Plus was part of the News Sentinel. It was, and then Detours on Campus was the free distribution helicopter.
There's
flying
the
over.
regular 530 helicopter.
There you go.
But anyway, it was a free distribution that went to all the colleges, and we started getting in trouble because we had like a sex columnist, and we had a lot of things that wouldn't go in the regular
Right.
paper. And so it was popular, and then advertisers liked it, and they were buying ads, but they said the content scared them because they were afraid other people would come to them and say, "Why are you advertising in this smut?" And,
Well, I was advocating for a sex column in 50 Plus, but
yeah.
but
be
we
more
were both
spicy.
in our 30s when
Yeah.
we were doing this.
Was I 30 yet? I don't know. I was
30s or
20s.
yeah.
But anyway, yeah,
30s or
I was
20s.
still I was 20s I think still. But anyway, so what should we talk about here? I think the purpose of this podcast was we should explain to people we're kind of a beta test run to do this podcast, and so we wanted to do it without any promotion. So we've not been promoting ourselves with ads. We don't have any advertising. We've never had any advertising. Right. We might someday. And we didn't, we've never advertised on Facebook or YouTube or anything like that. We wanted as raw and pure numbers as we could get to see what people would respond to. And I did go to like a little mini podcast school to learn how to do it and, what to look for and what to be wary of. And I think, I've got weird stats and stuff like that we can talk about if we want to, about who actually listens to us. And I have no idea how people are finding us. So, because other than just personally putting up posts, on Facebook, we do have social media. I've created, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on X. We were on Threads, but that wasn't really working. And I just couldn't post on everything all the time. And we do have like little promos that go out, but we haven't advertised any of those pages either. So, but if you want to go look for them, you can find them and you'll see like little promos for what we're going to be doing on the brand new episode. And sometimes we'll have one for, a few weeks ago, a little promo for it. But we've really done like all the podcast skills where you got to get out there and you got to push it and you got to go to individual like Spotify and Apple Podcasts and try to get them to promote you and you do have to do those things, but we're the mother company of How We Heard It, Cozy Planet. We're looking at doing some additional podcasts and trying to step up our game and everything. And I think, we've been doing a really good job, and I've been happy. I thought that maybe the only people listening to us would just be people who knew us, and then we would never be found by anybody else because it's just random when you're not promoting and you're not all over the place.
Yeah. Are there like search like hashtag words that get out there?
Well, I do that on some of the social posts. So I can do an @ if we're talking about Sheryl Crow, I can say @ Sheryl Crow, or I can say when we did One Hit Wonders, I can do a hashtag One Hit Wonders.
Because people do search for content
people
just based
do search
on
for
subjects.
That. Yeah, they do search for that.
And I seem to remember the very first episode we did. I've talked for a fair bit about Taylor Swift.
Yeah, it was,
and it was kind of purposeful because we wanted to put a hashtag out there with Taylor Swift.
Yeah, well, exactly,
and it worked.
I think we started smart because it was like, all right, what should our first show be? And it was like, oh, we got to talk about Taylor Swift. I mean, that's all anyone was talking about anyway. And we know you've interviewed her a few times, and or at least a couple times, and I've done reviews of her, so we know her. So and of course that did well, Go ahead.
I was just saying, one of the things that when I did a search today, because I wanted to see all the episodes, the titles, when I typed in How We Heard It, finally it was the first thing that came up.
Oh, good.
Usually it's like there's a micro, has
I know.
things, and it always comes up way ahead of us. But this time I typed it.
Where were you searching?
Just on Google.
On Google. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yeah, so it came up first.
Yeah, I just got a text on my way in here from somebody saying, is this the studio recording? And I said, well, this is the Gmail address for the How We Heard It podcast, if that helps, cheers. And again, our Gmail address is howweheardit@gmail.com. On Facebook, on all of those other places, YouTube, we are How We Heard It. We're the How We Heard It channel of YouTube. Again, you're not going to see big masses there because I don't think we've even promoted that. We've been very guarded about, about how we're promoting stuff, but I feel comfortable doing it now. And
I think that was largely the point, was to get comfortable doing it.
Yeah. Well, that was my fear too. It's like I thought, oh my God, I knew, Wayne had radio experience, so I knew he would know what he's doing. And of course you're a musician and you've got your own studio here, so you know what you're doing. And I'm just like, blah, blah, blah. I thought I would just get on there, embarrass myself.
You're the engine that runs this thing.
Well, I'd never know anything. And I have noticed that with when I'm talking, some stuff, I just like, God, I wish I could take that back.
That's what you do. That's part of it.
Yeah, and we're trying to find the right length. I think we kind of hit a consistent length and everything, but I know one thing, and I was the worst at it at the beginning. We do recommendations at the end, and I would tend to blather on and on. And one time I heard myself, and it was like I pretty much went through every plot line of a movie and talked for 20 minutes
because
about
you remember them better.
And it's like, oh my God, I can't do that because it's like, you don't have to see this movie now. I just told you the whole damn thing.
We had a coworker that used to, when Seinfeld was on, I never had to watch Seinfeld because he would come in every morning after Seinfeld played
and give you every line.
Tell me the entire thing. It was like, I don't think I ever want to watch this show.
Yeah.
When I finally watched it, it was long enough between when he told me about it that I could forget about it.
Right.
So it was all fresh.
Right.
Well, one of the benefits that this podcast has had for me, my wife and I have always gone to movies, but I don't know when, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, we just kind of stopped going to movies. I don't know why. And I really wasn't in the loop for new movies coming out. And so I just kind of stopped. We watch our TV shows, but thanks to you guys, I've started watching movies again and really enjoying them and realizing that what great works of art they are, or they can be.
Right, and of course the world now is like all these movies are coming to your home, eventually at least, and so
that was one of the places that Chuck and I connected. We nearly always agreed on movies.
Right.
And after I stopped working at the News Sentinel and you were still working there, you would occasionally text me something. You got to see this movie.
Right.
And it was, always your recommendation. Sarah just watched Past Lives for the third time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And we both love that movie.
I love that movie.
Past Lives. That was the one about the Korean.
Yep.
Yeah.
Korean couple.
That was a great movie.
Yeah. And it was nominated for Best Picture, but hardly anybody has heard of it.
Right. There's no way it could have won because no one saw it.
Right.
Well, and the lead actress was in something else currently.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember what she was in.
I can't remember. But yeah. But yeah, and that's something we wanted to do. I mean, our us being veteran music writers, but we also did write about movies, and we talked about movies almost as much as we've talked about music. So we've dealt those into the mix. So about every 10th episode we do, it'll be movie related.
Right.
Or we did one on comedians. So but
that was a good one for me too, because I don't keep up with comedians. And
I
discovered
do.
a whole bunch of good ones.
We saw Whitney Cummings last weekend.
Okay.
And she was great.
Yeah.
Gosh, I wish I could remember her opener. Her opener was from Sparta, Tennessee. I'll think of her name in just a minute.
That's something we do a lot too, I've noticed.
Well, I can't.
That's just a function
we'll
of
say
age.
something like, oh, I'm trying to think, and you can just hear silence, and people are like, are we really listening to them look up stuff on the phone?
No, I didn't look it up. Amber Autry was her opener,
good for
and she
you.
was really good. And she was from Sparta, but she didn't mention that she was from the same place that Lester Flatt was from.
Oh, yeah.
Who?
Flatt and Scruggs, Lester Flatt. If you go into Sparta,
I guess
there's a
she's
sign.
under like 70 then.
Yeah, she was 30s. But she was very funny.
Didn't Flatt and Scruggs do the Beverly Hillbillies theme?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where they introduced a whole generation of bluegrass players. Bela Fleck, that's why I got interested in the banjo. Was
Really?
Yep, watching Earl Scruggs on the Beverly Hillbillies.
All right. Another thing I've noticed is that I don't know why, but when I come here, I have a very strict routine. I work out before I come here, and I drink a little bit of caffeine and tea, and I have a little, minor protein bar. And my energy goes all over the map every time. And sometimes I'm like, good Lord, I sound like I'm on speed. And then other times, like, I must be on, some kind of something. I sound like I'm about to fall asleep, and I'm not even there. And I promise you, I am the same frame of mind every time I'm here. But just sometimes, and you have that consistent, both of you, and I think it's your experience and everything, are very consistently on without going over the top.
You see us from the outside, and you see yourself from the inside.
That's true. That's true.
You're always going to be your own worst critic.
Yeah. Well, I know I've got to stop singing. I can't. There'll be a song, and I'll try to throw out a little bit of the melody. And it's like, Jesus, Chuck, don't ever sing it. I just cringe a million times. Like, what? Every time I'll do it, it's like, just stop that.
Well, for a while, my problem is, I say,
You do say a lot.
And great. There's things that I say every time. And
I say
don't notice it.
right. I don't know where I came up with that. But
Well, until I listen back, I don't realize quite how often I say,
Yeah.
and all the other little things that The thing is,
little space fillers.
yes.
Well, they have automatic programs that can edit stuff like that out, but I've heard those, and to me, they just sound too clipped and too unnatural. And that's what they said in podcast school. I'm the expert here, and they've said like, don't go through and cut out every because you're going to have something just with no air and no space in it, and people are going to get kind of unnerved by that.
Well, it's like being bald. The more effort you go to try and hide it, the more obvious it becomes. You try and edit everything together, it just sounds all chopped up.
It just sounds chopped, yeah.
So I need to put another sign up. I mean, that has more than that. No more, and
yeah.
other
I'm
things.
trying to cut down. I'm trying to cut down on the right, because it's like, oh my God, where did I come? I don't think I even used to do that, but I don't do that when I'm just talking to
Those
people.
kinds of things are just unconscious, though.
But I will give myself credit for I've gotten some good at like little nasty asides that catch me by surprise. And it's like, Chuck, good one, because you'll be talking, at length about something, and I'll just say, another one of those. So, I don't
I'm
mind.
so used to this, I don't even notice it.
Yeah,
We had,
that's how I get away with
30
it.
years of hearing that.
I'm real interested in when my wife actually gets to meet you. Because she said so many times, she goes, I've just got this picture in my mind of what Chuck looks
I'm
like.
sure I don't.
And I'm like, well,
Sarah's the same way. It's like all she wants to do is meet Chuck.
The funny thing about our social stuff is a friend of the company, Yatin, he puts together these animated bits. And if you haven't seen them, he takes like a little clip from a show. And some of them are just like video or photo montages that I put together. But Yatin does these little animated versions of us. And he's only met me. He hasn't met either of you. And he's just talking about doing animals. And I said, okay. He said,
And
I've
Chuck
got
is
a
a
dog.
buff German Shepherd.
Oh, yeah. He said, I've got a dog. I said, I'm a dog lover. I'm the dog lover. I've got to be the dog. I didn't know what kind of dog. And then when I first saw it, here's this buff German Shepherd. He got the Dodgers hat right without the logo. So he
Right.
got the blue baseball cap on. I'm this big buff. And you're like this fat
Short,
cat.
fat cat.
This short, fat cat with these wire rim glasses and everything. I don't know where
Wire-rim
that came from. And then John is this mouse who is like behind the board. You just see his ears sticking up. And when he has something to say, he pops up and everything. And it's like, and I keep saying, I didn't tell Yatin to do this. It's just what he did. But
everybody gets a little creativity in this.
yeah, that's true.
Miss Yatin's artistic.
Yeah.
Well, when we had Sneaky Pete on the one time we've had a guest, he was an alien.
He was an
loved
alien. Yes. He was an alien who just showed up at the door. He was kind of standing in a portal or something. But just the other day, our friend Randall was on Instagram and said, I still love these animated cartoons of you guys. And then another one, Vince, who used to also work at the News Sentinel, he said, Chuck, you are just an exact replica of that dog. I'm like, all right. It's just like, I love German Shepherds and I'll take it. But anyway, I don't know. But anyway, I don't know what would be. Have you learned anything about yourself in this podcast, either one of you?
Well, I mean, like I said at the beginning, I think I've learned that, I was saying, there we go. That I'm
Right.
that I really want to start paying attention to newer music like I used to, because I haven't in the last little bit since I haven't been writing about it.
Yeah. Hadn't been your job.
Right. It's not been my job to keep current and see everything that's coming in, and not everybody is sending me CDs like they did back in the day that we got 20 CDs a week.
You can still find everything, though.
Yeah, it's all out there, but again, like we've talked about before, it's like having a guide, and I need to listen to more of what you all have recommended.
Well, and there used to be magazines that I would read that would recommend things, and those don't really exist anymore.
Yeah.
No, hardly any of them exist anymore.
There's one that I get in my email box. It's Paste magazine.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they, about once a week, they'll have 10 new albums to check out. And a lot of them I'm not interested in, but there's usually at least one or two. And I've found some pretty good stuff that I like.
Yeah. Well, back in the day, it was reading magazines that really got me going on artists that I wanted to hear. I mean, there was probably half of the ones that I wound up loving, I read about them first.
Yep. Rolling Stone or Musician, or
Yeah.
those were the magazines I'll spin.
Yeah.
I would go through everything that came in to us, and every major label was sending everything.
Oh, yeah.
So I would sample everything that came in. Now for me, because I had to review so many, I was reviewing mediocre stuff I don't like. And that's one thing I've freed myself from.
Yeah.
So what I dive into and keep listening to is good stuff. So I'm not as well spoken on the bad stuff that people aren't doing right, or bad and the
Consider
bad
that a
trends.
blessing.
But
Yeah,
I got to live. I got to have a life out there. But I've noticed that just so much of writing about music shaped my life and kind of brought out some idiosyncrasies in me that I didn't really have before, and made me. And then doing this podcast has made me look back at how music and my life have, interlocked, and how it's kind of defined, at least partially defined, who I am and how I think about things.
I think I did the same. I mean, I think I recognized that before doing this podcast because, every major thing in my life, I could tie to a musical memory.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do think that it's cemented that in my mind, that how important music has been through everying.
Right.
Yeah.
And
no, I said right, and I stopped myself from saying right.
I was looking behind me. But I think that, I've always known how important music is to me, but I hadn't realized just how tied it is into all my memories.
Oh yeah, music and memories are just they're. I think they're processed in the same part of your brain.
Yeah, they must be.
And also, I've gone back to look at trying to define why I like things and how I changed as a critic, because we both changed over the years, and what our intentions were and how we were evaluating things and who we were trying to reach, and how we felt about what an artist was doing. So I had many changes there, but and it's hard to figure. I've always tried to define an audience and who I'm trying to reach. And that was one thing that we left open when we came up with this podcast. It's like, for people who listen, we're all over the map as to where music comes from. And almost every week, whatever the topic, we have things that are modern and from the last 5 years, and also things that go back before we were born, and then all the years in between. And we all seem to have proficiency, especially, including me, for me, it's more later 80s, but then 90s, those are the kind of the peak period for all three of us.
Yeah.
And both of you go back, 70s and 60s, and Wayne even before we were born. And then
before anybody was born.
Before anybody was born, yes. The music by the dinosaurs before they're humans.
God said, "Let there be music."
That's exactly what happened. But I think the funny thing is that when you look at what audience we have, so anyway, if it sounds odd that we're talking about Olivia Rodrigo and Elvis Costello or Elvis Presley in the same episode, it's because we're looking for older people who haven't kept up with younger music, younger people who don't know much about music's history, people in the middle who don't really know much about the before or after, like from the 80s or the 90s or whatever. And when you give good historical context for how these things even happened. But we're not just like teaching scholarly lessons with quizzes and all that. So we keep moving along. We try to keep it fresh. We don't want to just dwell on anything that's, tedious or boring. And I think we're doing a pretty good job with that. Even though it's hard now, it's like, if we got to reach everyone from 80 to 18 or 15, how are we going to do that? So there'll be some topics where we do linger a bit on one time period, but mostly we're all making the effort to cover all the bases.
Well, to me, music is just one big thing.
Yeah.
It's just and it doesn't matter when it was written or when it was recorded. All that matters is whether you like it or not.
Right. And we have the advantage of knowing so much more new music than other people. So people who are curious about music and who do want to know more things that they don't know, whether they're 20 or 80, if they listen to us, we can give them things to go check out and see how people did it back then.
There's a lot of meat and potatoes listeners out there that don't ever try anything outside of the meat and the potatoes.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's when we were discussing a few weeks ago about we'd look at liner notes. John and I both were liner notes guys that looked at who played on what. I mean, that introduced me. I mean, that sent me backwards. Because somebody would cover some old song, and it's like I wanted to know the history of that old song and who did it to begin with.
Right.
And I think people still do that. I mean, I think young people still. I mean, now it's all available.
Well, you have to dig for the liner notes, though.
You do.
But when you hear a song, I mean, I'm trying to think of somebody who's covered some. I mean, there've been so many covers lately, and they won't come.
We
to
did a
mind.
whole episode about it.
Yeah, but I mean, when somebody
least
covers an older song that's a new artist doing it, I mean, if it were me, and I think there's a lot of people who are like the same way I am, I'd go back and want to hear the original.
Yeah.
And see what that sounded like.
How it was so terrible. How it's been improved upon.
As when we did the covers, there were some that did improve on the
Right.
originals, but most of the time I think the original's hard. I mean, if you're going to cover it, it meant it was a great song to begin with.
Must be a pretty inspiring
Yeah.
song
Yeah.
if somebody is inspired to cover it.
Right. It's like when they remake, good movies and make bad movies. A lot of times they remake a great song and turn it into kind of a bad song because of the performance.
Well, I
and
mean,
sometimes the opposite.
As a musician, and I got my start playing in a covers band where we were trying to sound just like the songs we were playing. At a certain point, I just came to the realization that we were just a human jukebox. I mean, they would react, but they were reacting to a song they know. They weren't reacting to anything we were doing, really.
Right.
Well,
and so my attitude about covering a song now, I'm not against covering a song, but if you're going to do it, and reinterpret it, do something with it.
But if you're a covers band, all they want to do is
They don't want to hear you.
sound
Yeah.
as much like what they remember as possible.
That's the pitfall.
But I
if
do
you're gonna
agree.
if you're gonna do something dramatic with it, some people are gonna love it, and some people are gonna hate
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
So,
But well, and that's I guess my attitude about doing covers changed when I left the cover band and started my own band playing original music. And if you're playing original music, you're pretty much expecting that people aren't going to be listening,
Right.
Or not going to, or you're taking the risk that somebody might hate you.
right,
I mean, and you're also not being paid the money that a cover band gets,
right.
and they expect to hear this list of songs that was marketed to them.
Yeah.
It's just a different approach.
Well, with me, reading liner notes, that was something I never did until I started working. And even then, I was only halfway paying attention to lyrics.
Yeah.
And when I started listening, I'm a word person, right? So when I started reading the lyrics and getting the messages, sometimes I would be blown away because I always assumed the lyrics were inconsequential or, I didn't give them much thought. And I know a lot of people are like that. They don't really pay attention to lyrics. And when I hear like an old song before times, hear something from like early 80s or 70s or whatever, it's like, oh, wow, I didn't know they were making a point about anything. I just took that for granted. But then in part of my evaluating and reviewing, it's like, okay, I want to know what they have to say. And that's what's going to connect with me the most is words and what they say and what their perspective is. And then I can hear how that's decorated with the music. But for me, it's always been words. And that's what blows me away. And that's what I still find is good about today's music is that people still express themselves in very talented ways. And songs will have meanings you had no idea, that you thought it was just some superficial fluff and it's a suicide song or something like that. Mm-hmm. So that's been real eye-opening to me. And I always hated poetry and everything in school because it was like, oh, this is stupid. I hated poetry. I hated poetry.
I'm just the opposite. I love
like
it.
I hated
poetry.
I hated analyzing poetry and figuring out what they meant and all that. So I was resistant to lyrics. And then seeing them and reading them and getting the meaning, you do see there are a lot of superficial artists out there who have hits with nothing, and then you see there are people who are just like, wow, just constantly wowing me. And I think that's a good message that I got receptive to, and I tried to pass that along to people.
I'm usually a music first guy. If the music appeals to me, I'll get to the lyrics. And if the music's good but the lyrics are horrible, it's dead to me.
Yeah.
I mean, the lyrics can make or break something, but when you get good music and then you get into the lyrics and the lyrics are great too, that's success.
That's a win, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know which I gravitate toward first because I can appreciate one without the other, but I think there have been songs where it's like, oh, that's what he was saying.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't need to listen to this anymore.
And we've talked about this before, how sometimes I would, and I guess you all would too, just think you're hearing lyrics
Right.
a different way, and you're singing along with your lyrics, and you realize that your lyrics were better than theirs. You know? I was like, well,
I think maybe we talked about it one time when I had Kevin Abernathy on the show one night on my radio show, late night radio show, and he sang the lyrics to one of his songs, and it was like I had written the lyric in the paper, and after it was done, I said, I just realized I misheard that. I wrote that in the paper, and it was wrong. And he goes, yeah, but I liked what you did better.
Yeah. Well,
but he's a great lyricist.
Yeah, he
right.
is, no doubt.
Yeah, I would always clean up grammar, you know.
Yeah,
like if
yeah.
And then when I would hear them singing it and they're using the wrong grammar, it just, unless it's for, stylistic reason, it would just bother me, or I'd just hear something better than they even said in their lyrics. So I just keep singing my lines, in their songs. Although I don't need to be singing around anybody, I'll tell you that.
Well,
But
we haven't done a show yet on misunderstood lyrics, which we should do that sometime.
Yeah,
because
sure.
I've got some good ones.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear the joke ones too all the time, and those are funny, where it's just something really superficial and stupid. Because that was me as a child. That's what I would hear. It's just like the dumbest lyrics, that weren't actually the lyrics. But I was looking at our numbers and our stats for what kind of things people were reading or listening to and where they were coming from. It's probably not a surprise that almost 90% of our audience is in the U.S., the United States.
Yep.
And of that, almost 50% of those are in Tennessee, which isn't a surprise because, of course, we're based in Knoxville, and Nashville's in Knoxville, and that's a big music city. And then after Tennessee, it's not a surprise that California would be second. They always kind of hover around 9 or 10%. It's one of the biggest states in the country and very entertainment oriented. And then we have a series of states with pretty substantial little chunks, including Ohio, Texas, Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, a lot of like southern states near us and heavily populated states. New York and Maryland, oddly enough, was 10th, which is kind of a surprise. And we're in we've got listeners in like 45 or more states. I think Wyoming and one of the Dakotas, no one's ever listened to us in those states. So I don't know if we talk about...
We need to generate some Wyoming and Dakota-specific
songs
content.
about Wyoming. Well, maybe there aren't songs about Wyoming, and they don't care about music there, so we just black them out.
I can't think of any music artists from Wyoming or the Dakotas. I'm sure there are.
I think we got North Dakota, oddly enough, but not South Dakota. North Dakota's a smaller population one. But anyway, But whatever. I mean, they can catch up with us if they want, and if they want to stay, in the ancient history, they can. But Wyoming, South Dakota, we're here for you. And then the interesting thing too for me is the international listenership that we have,
right?
Which I don't know how on earth these people, we've got friends and friends who may know friends, and people in America. You figure they what they're going on, I'm sure in a lot of cases, they're just looking down Spotify or they're just looking down Apple Podcasts or whatever, and they see the headlines, and they have to get... So I'm coming up with the headlines for these, and sometimes I go crazy because if we have a kind of complicated column, it's like, there's no catchy headline to write for this. So I think sometimes a complicated subject is going to get fewer readers because I can't do a punchy headline.
You can't grab them in 5 words.
Right,
But looking over the list today, looking at your headlines, you do a good job on the headlines.
Well, thanks.
It's kind of amazing that you can sum it up into a headline with some of the times we've had
I know.
some of the topics
We did one on talking about inside stories about interviews that we'd done, with like Dolly Parton and I don't know, like 6 or 7 different people. And I said, behind the scenes stories with, and I just went ahead and listed them all. So it's this long ass headline. It's like, there's no other way to summarize it. It's like, we talked to big stars, so, and I think it did all right. But, the international listeners, which is interesting, our number 1 international market is India.
Really?
I know. But I did some research on that. I talked to our friend Zach, who has a movie podcast, and he said India is their top international one, too. India is the largest country in the world, so they have more people than anybody else. And they, I guess they have a fair amount of English speakers there.
Right.
Interesting, we have 0 from China, and I looked that up. I thought it seems like China, which is right behind India in population,
Yeah.
it seems like someone from China would have found us. But it turns out China's very censored. And like Spotify, for example, is just banned from China altogether. And the Apple podcasts there are curated down to the non-offensive ones, non-offensive to Chinese culture. So I'm sure we didn't make the cut there. So
Somewhere we've offended China.
Yeah, so I imagine
And
we
Wyoming and South Dakota.
yeah. So but after India, the top one is the United Kingdom, which makes sense.
That makes sense.
They speak English, and then after that, it's Canada, also speaks English. And they're smaller than the United Kingdom, so we could see that UK would pull more. And then Russia. And I don't know what to think about that.
Yeah.
If I should think about that, it's like I don't know why Russia's number 5 on our country list, but it's Russia. And 6 is Switzerland, which is a pretty small country. I mean, it's
surprising.
in Western Europe. And we have other, we have Norway, we have Australia, again, an English-speaking country. Not a whole lot of people there, but it makes sense. Germany, no surprise. Poland, a little surprising. France, no surprise. Mexico. And then Romania.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
I don't know if we hit with vampires or I don't know what's going on.
It's just
in
amazing
Romania.
me that 3 dorks from East Tennessee,
Yeah.
that someone in Romania wants to listen to us.
Or
talk.
several. Some. I mean, these have like pretty good chunks. The countries I'm reading now, and South Africa again. That's an English-speaking country. Right. Argentina, Philippines, big country. Brazil, but we're in over 46 countries, and some of them are just like 1 or 2 people have listened to us.
Right.
But we're even in like Uruguay and Uganda, so it's kind of cool to think that just all these little countries in Asia and Africa and all the South American countries that somehow, somewhere, somebody finds us. But I always like when there'll be a little flurry from Denmark, and you think that's probably one person that's found us, because they'll have we'll get 5 hits from Denmark in one day, and it's like that's probably that one person who listened to 5 episodes in one day, which is pretty cool. We got good numbers in Sweden, and I'm not surprised about Western Europe, but just all the other countries is pretty cool.
Wouldn't it be disappointing if you found out that it was people who just put it on so they could go to sleep and it just kept playing?
Well,
A play's a play.
Yeah, play is a play. No one's being tested on what we said. They just put it on, and there we are.
But when you think about it, when you reverse angle that, I'm reminded of an interview, I think it was with John Lennon, when they asked him, what's the most far-off, exotic place you can think of? And he said Memphis, Tennessee. And, I mean, relative, where you are, someone somewhere that's on the other side of the planet really seems interesting.
Yeah.
And, have I mentioned there's an app called Radio Garden?
Yeah, you talked about that before.
Yep, you have.
Yeah, and so you open it up and there's a little world, and you can just spin it around, and it's got little dots of light all over it, and those are radio stations all over the world. And it's just so amazing to me that I can find a radio station in the in the back country of northern Russia,
Right.
and it's almost all
Well, yeah, we like I say, Russia's number 5 on our list here, so I don't know what to make of that.
but it's like eavesdropping or something.
Yeah.
And the farther off and more obscure it is, the more I want to know what it's about.
What's
So
going
maybe
on,
that's. I mean, Knoxville probably seems like a backwater to someone in Hungary.
Yeah. We have Hungarian listeners too, so there you go. And we have probably a dozen African countries I don't know what we're saying and I've tried to pin it down to the week that they show up on our list, and sometimes it has been. I think Sweden popped up when I was talking about going to Sweden and having it, and stuff like that. So, and they can scan. You can get, I guess, our transcripts from what we're talking about, and you can
Scan for keywords.
If you're
or
looking
something.
for someone singing about Sweden or Italy or whatever, then we may. But most of the time, it's just very, very random.
On the transcripts, it's pretty funny because
Oh yeah,
I've scrolled. I can't remember what subject it was, but I was scrolling down. We were talking about Crimea River, and it showed up as Crimea,
Crimea River.
It's like, boy, I wonder
That's a whole other thing.
What if anybody's written a song called Crimea River? I mean,
Most likely.
that is
Crimea.
a great idea. I may have to do that. Thanks, Wayne.
More stats. People who find us, about 46% of them go through Apple Podcasts, which that lines up with what Podcast School taught me. And Spotify is about 22%. And they said that Apple and Spotify are about 2/3 of your listeners, and that is about 2/3 of our listeners. Google Chrome's about 10%. But there are 22 other platforms that people have used to get to us. And all these things I've never heard of. Yeah. But because of the application I use, they're going out on platforms that I've never heard of. So, and the way people listen to us, about 68% have been on iPhones. And then 11% have been on Androids. So 79% of our listeners are on phones rather than computers. And then we have about 11% of those are on Macs and about 8% on PCs. And then Alexa, somehow, I don't know how Alexa works really, but about 5% of our listeners are just telling Alexa to go find us. So if you find that interesting. And then I was looking at, I've got our most popular episodes, which are kind of surprising, and then also what our most popular ones were on social media. Okay. Our most popular episode was in December, and it's "What's Up with All the Gibberish Singers Use."
How in the world is? I mean, from
that one, I love that because you could not understand that when I kept presenting it as a topic. And I said, "Don't you get it when they say sha na na, or maybe when they're counting, or when they're counting?" Or
I finally got it when we were
we were doing it.
There have been some concepts I didn't know what I was stepping into.
We had one. It was like favorite ballads, and that caught me off guard because neither one of you understood that. And I was like, ballad. To me, a ballad's always just a slow, pretty song, and you all had the other 8 definitions for ballads going through your mind. And I think we were 3/4 of the way through it before we finally landed on what we were talking about.
That's the point.
Yeah, that's the point.
That's the only episode where you said something and ended what you were going to say and looked at me, and I'm just like, I don't know what we're talking about.
And I was looking at you like, how can you not understand this at this point? I think what I said was, imagine if someone were just speaking those lyrics to you, and if it sounds like they're crazy, and then it's gibberish. It doesn't make sense. If someone was just talking to you, and then they started to spell.
But that one I got. One it was the other was the ballad one.
Drilled it through your thick head.
Oh, the ballad ones.
It was the ballad one where you got me. I just like.
I always thought ballads were just like slow songs and slow love songs. I wasn't thinking murder ballads or these narrative ballads and all that stuff. I just thought, well.
But that's the only time that I've just been totally like, I can't say anything.
But gibberish was far and away the biggest one we've had. And then the kicking it off with Taylor Swift, not surprising, is still number 2. One thing I've learned about these is that people aren't just, I assume people would just listen to the newest one. Mm-hmm. But every time someone opens it up, they scan through all and they're looking for the headline they want. Yeah. So
that's the way when I look for a podcast, that's what I do. I'm not looking for the latest thing. I'm looking back for a subject that looks interesting.
But when you're creating them, you're just in the moment. It's like, we got to put a new one out. And then I'm looking and it says, you got 50 new views, and it's like, but you only have 8 new views for the new, like on Saturday when we post, and it's like, you've only got 8. It's like, well, where are the other 42 going? And they're going through all of them all the way back to Taylor Swift. So the oldest ones are, a lot of those are some of the top ones we've had. Taylor Swift with this first one we had, and it's number 2. Guilty Pleasures. People like that title, I guess, and I only said guilty pleasures. I didn't go into any details about that. That's the 3rd, and it's right behind Taylor Swift. And that was just us talking about the kinds of music that we like that people might be surprised about, and we don't care, So you is like sunshine pop, and with me it was exotica and techno.
Yeah, but I think everybody's interested in things like that, where this is not the normal thing that you talk about. The thing that you're, if you're snotty about something or whatever.
Well, and that's what we're trying to find. We're trying to find people who just want to hear, we want to give them something a little fresh, but at the same time, not snotty, arrogant, So, and that was Guilty Pleasures. And we're letting down our guard, Are Your Music Tastes a Red Flag? That was the 4th biggest. Then a more recent one, here are our favorite love songs. That was just from February. And that's the 5th best one. So that was after, we've gone through 30 or more.
Yeah.
And I don't know, songs we never want to hear again. I think people like, we don't want to hear this again. Music trends we hate, and they like that negative, we're going to hate songs, great revenge songs. I think breakup songs are on here, best breakup songs. One of them I just called God, It's Brutal Out Here. and that one's, I don't know how to describe ones where we're just talking about our personal experience and like going to concerts and interviewing celebrities. And some people really like those, and they're very different because we're not just talking about songs. We're talking about things that we never wrote about, but that happened to us with, big names, small names, and weird stories that happen. And people like, and we do that every now and then. We'll just cut loose and like, all right, here's stuff we never printed.
I got a question for you, Chuck. Are you feeling any better about ad-libbing? Because, early on you were, I know. And you still are pretty, you bring in multiple 5-6 pages of notes.
I feel like if no one's got anything that I got to carry the load, I got to be prepared, I don't want to be like, I don't know, it's like, so, and part of that too is just like my lack of experience in anything like this compared to you two. I didn't want to just be this idiot who just like was a bump on the log the whole time.
Well, you don't have you're not somebody who like would be at a bar and somebody bring up music and you start talking about music for 3 hours.
No.
And, I don't know about John, but I would do that sort of thing. People would come up, talk to me about music all the time.
Yeah.
And I'd wind up pontificating and, and listen to.
I can give you 5 or 10 minutes. And then it's like, all right, can we talk about something else?
I got a 10-minute set.
Yeah. I'm an opening act at best, But
I just have never. I know it seemed like you had some kind of anxiety. The couple of ad lib sessions that we've done, you were like, I hope we can do this, but I had total faith.
Right.
Yeah, me too.
I just like. I think part of it is my fear that you all remember album labels and years and stuff like that.
We're nerds.
And you're nerds, but also I just did so much crap for so many years and so many albums. Like I can't tell you the name of the album or what label it was on or when it came out because it was just thousands of albums that I reviewed, and so it's all just mush, Yeah. So I like to have information. I like to have ages and release dates or whatever if I can.
Yeah.
And I still won't have everything, but we were talking about the Beastie Boys a few episodes ago, and I was talking about the song Intergalactic, and you said, what album was that on? I was like, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, I don't have that. I don't know.
Not everybody can just
5 minutes later, I pop up and say, it was on Hello Nasty, John. You go, oh, okay. You'd forgotten about it at that point.
I think half the reason I know labels is because I was the buyer for the biggest record store in a chain record store in Memphis. And so, AC/DC's on Atco. It's 16025. Yeah. Just because we sold that so regularly that I had to write, and this was before computers. We had to, actually write it on paper and fax it to a warehouse.
Right.
I don't know why I always remembered labels. Ever since I was a little kid, I'd see labels and associate that with this, act.
I did the same.
Before I could even read, really.
I put what label an album was on in the title on the top of the review, and I never thought about it
Gone
again.
Out of your brain.
And I just moved. Every now and then, I knew some labels were better than others, so I'd look forward to, for my kind of music, I would look forward to those. I don't remember MCA being particularly great.
Music Cemetery of America.
Okay. Well, see?
But the NCA had such a wide variety of things on.
Yeah. There's some great MCA stuff.
Yeah.
The Who.
Yeah.
Steely Dan.
Elton John.
Yeah. I remember I won a display contest at the record store, and it was an MCA contest, and I got like 25 MCA titles on CD. So I just stocked up on the Who and Steely Dan, and I'm trying to remember who else. But
they had a lot of good. They had some great ones, but they had more than everybody else. So you probably got more crap from them. Mm-hmm. Atlantic was like that during the hair metal era.
Yeah,
Atlantic had all these hair metal bands that sucked. They just kept hair metal band. We'll sign them.
Yeah, but I just I just wasn't paying that close attention because I knew I was going to sample everything that came in.
Right.
Now, interesting, though, our reach on social media has often been different from the podcasts themselves. Mm-hmm. So what we do on social media is we'll take at least one clip a week where we just have my big dog and your cat and your mouse talking to each other about 1.5 minute segment usually. Right. And it nothing represents any of our whole subjects because we meander and we talk. And there was one, we had this one episode, I think it was album covers, and about 15 minutes went by where we weren't even talking about album covers.
I don't remember
and we were talking about, other bands and stuff and things and blah, blah, blah. And you were talking about Paul Simon at this point and Simon and
I remember.
And I said, well, how were the album covers for his albums? Because I realized, what are we even talking about? I don't know what our subject is now. So we can meander, But on social media, and it depends on the social media, but on YouTube, by far our biggest hit was a comedy. Because he took a couple of links. It was like Anthony Jeselnik who told the joke about seeing the ghost of children at an abortion clinic. And I said, does this joke go over the line? And so, that got way more views than any other YouTube video.
That's one where we accidentally said Nick Bergazzi rather than Nate
Yeah,
Bergazzi.
yeah. You don't need to bring that. Well, fortunately, Nick wasn't, Nate wasn't on any of our excerpts.
Right.
But he also took a Jim Jeffries one about Jim Jeffries wanting cocaine and a guy thinking he wanted sex and cocaine. He said, I only wanted cocaine. That's the second biggest one we've had on YouTube. So 2 comedy ones, which our comedy episode was just kind of middle of the road for traffic, but it did well on YouTube. And then the drug songs by the Talking Heads and Fleetwood Mac, you were going through a list of them at the end. I said, ABBA song Winter Takes It All was about fentanyl. And I was just saying that as a joke, but it was like, it was like drug songs by Talking Heads, Fleetwood Mac, Beatles, and ABBA. So, that was a teaser. And Sheryl Crow talking about the Electric Man looking good when we were talking about songs about healing. Mm-hmm. And she did a song about how she was trying to recover. So she was making eyes at her Electric Man and he looks good today. And so that was in the top 5. And in the 5th place was Here's Why the Kinks Are Up There with the Beatles. So I imagine that was you.
That was bound to have been us too.
Yeah, that was not me talking. But so that's YouTube. Then on X, they went a totally different way. Our Grammy preview stuff that we did, it was middle of the road.
Now, are these the little animations that Yatin does?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these are the animations. And our Grammy previews just killed. Like, we had 6 for that one, and every single one of them killed. And it was all like, why Taylor Swift will win Best Album? Why Beyonce will win Best Album? Why Billie Eilish would? And all of those combined, they were all big hits. Olivia Rodrigo was a big hit. That wasn't part of the Grammys thing.
Right.
Mean breakup songs. And then when we were talking about the children of celebrities, the Nepo babies, again, that was kind of a middle-of-the-road numbers. But on X, Twitter, our segment about Jay-Z and Beyonce and Blue Ivy, how they may be pushing her too hard too soon. Madonna's daughter, Lourdes, going into music. And Will Smith's daughter.
Right.
All of those did really well. Dolly versus Whitney versions of I Will Always Love You. Again, this is just X.
Right.
It's just interesting that depending on where you are, you draw a different element. We did one on wrong Grammy winners, people who shouldn't have won Grammys. That was a big one. Sex sells. People love sex on X. The Doja Cat, Sexy Doja Cat was the biggest one of those. Bad Bunny, Sexy Summer Sex Songs was big. And then the celebrity interviews with younger people. So when I was talking about Kristen Stewart, who came here for a movie premiere, and Liam Hemsworth was a butthole, and so that did really well. And Kristen Stewart is actually much nicer than we expected. Yeah. So all of those things were hits on X, even though they weren't on YouTube, and even though they were just middle of the road for just
on the
overall traffic. Yeah. Facebook only went back 90 days. I've got to do something to get further back. But again, the Jim Jeffries and Jeselnik, the comedy ones, are 2 of the biggest, and the music drugs and the best comedians overall. I think that's comedians. Facebook. TikTok has been all over the map. I'm not sure if we're just not doing TikTok right or if we even need to do TikTok. But it's like Joan Jett and Khalees and Nas song, which is a real dirty song. It's like, and Instagram's really hard to read because Instagram, the only people really seeing it are our followers, and we've just got, a handful of followers.
Right.
Like your daughter, she's one of my favorites, and our friend Randall, and we got, but it's hard the way it presents. You aren't having as many people finding it. So if you search for something with a hashtag or an @ symbol on Instagram, it's not going to turn it up the way it would on X or on YouTube. So anyway, I thought that was interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah. So, and I don't know what to do with that. But and we haven't had any just absolute bombs. I'm glad to say I was worried that our movies things wouldn't do well. And they do fine, none of them have been over the top big ones, but they've all been fine. The comedies, that's like I said, that did well on social.
Yeah.
So we'll keep on with the subjects, but
send us subjects you want to hear us talk about.
So if you want us moving forward, if you want to give us some topics you want us to hear. You want to hear us talk about how we heard it at gmail.com is our email address. And you can find us just searching How We Heard It. You can find us on YouTube and Facebook and X and Instagram and TikTok for now. And what am I missing? I think that's everything. Anyway.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Since we're wrapping up a year, is our next episode going to be season 2, episode 1?
I guess it would be. I don't know.
Are we going to do seasons?
I know. We didn't break down into some people that do seasons. They'll take a break, and I don't think we want to take a break here because we've already. I don't know.
That'd be nice.
We could.
Season 2.
I guess.
Feel like a feels like a benchmark. Feels like
none of ours are labeled though. I don't know if we have to go back and label all the first 52. I don't know how to do that.
Well, I don't want to make extra work for Chuck.
Yeah. If you want me to spend several weeks of doing that.
No.
But
Can't we just name them season 2, episode 1 from here on out?
That might confuse people too. I don't know. I'll look and see what other
it
people
doesn't
do.
matter.
I'm not making any
John, why are you complicating things? You're complicating
John.
things.
Jeez.
That's my job.
Well, are you ready to do recommendations?
I guess we are ready to do recommendations. And my goal is to try to do shorter ones. And here I've got
Notes and notes and notes.
I've got notes and notes and notes. Yeah.
Well, I'll do mine real short. Let me start
Okay.
off. We start off with music. I want to recommend from 1995, singer-songwriter Greg Brown, who's a guy from Iowa, who, if you know him, you love him. And he was kind of a big thing for a little while in the singer-songwriter community. He's a great guy.
What era?
Well, through the 80s and 90s.
Okay.
He started in the 70s. First time I heard him was on I heard one of his songs was on a Michael Johnson album from the 70s. And I think it was before Greg had actually recorded an album. But he had a good song on there. And then I think it was the Poet Game. He came to town and played, I think, the Laurel Theater the first time he played. And then he got bigger and bigger. He played I emceed a show that he did at the Bijou with R.B. Morris and Mary Gaucher. But his live album, a live one from 1995, is the best introduction to Greg Brown, I think.
Okay.
Doesn't he have this really low, gravelly voice?
He's got a very low
Yes,
voice.
I've heard some of his stuff.
Yeah, well, I think women find it very sexy and,
Or terrifying.
or
both.
guys, but he's got this. He's kind of an old curmudgeonly writer, but he has this kind of sweet inner life. But he's got a great song in there called "Just by Myself," which is a great song about just being alone and how nice it is to be alone. And the most curmudgeonly one that he's written probably is, "I don't want to have a nice day," because he's sick of people telling him to have a nice day.
I don't feel like it.
But to me, the pinnacle on that album is a song called Canned Goods, which is a little simple, sweet song about opening up canned goods that his grandmother had canned, and how it feels like you open it up and it feels like she's collected the summer in a jar.
All right.
But he goes into a story that lasts like 13 minutes,
Okay.
and it's great.
Okay.
So the live one by Greg Brown.
All right.
Excuse me.
All right. Choking on Grandma's canned goods.
Something's blooming here, and I don't know what
I think
it
it's
is.
that moonshine that you got.
I wish I should have brought some.
All right. Do you want to go with?
Okay, if we're doing, it's a
I'm gonna do a movie first and a music last.
Oh,
I'll do
okay.
my music one last.
Okay, well, this is a TV show.
Okay.
New TV show. It's on Apple TV, and it's Your Friends and Neighbors. It's John Hamm, Amanda Peet, Olivia Munn, and I don't want to give any plot points away, but it's skewering the lives of ultra wealthy people.
Okay.
I didn't expect it to be as good as it is.
What's it on?
I think it's on Apple TV.
Okay.
Sure. But Leslie and I just kind of took a chance on it, and it's exceeded our expectations, and we really we've only got 2 more episodes to go. So I think I don't know. They may be a whole season, but each episode's almost an hour long. So each one's almost like watching a movie, and it's filmed nicely, well acted, good drama.
Okay.
And funny, too.
Okay. My film recommendation is The Damned from 2024. It was a folk horror film. It's directed by Theodore Paulson, and it stars Odessa Young as a young 19th century widow. What are you looking at?
Nothing. I'm just writing it down because I don't remember this one.
And she runs a fishing outpost in the Arctic, and so it's very, very cold, very chilly, and she's got
isolated.
Very isolated. And there's an outcropping from the island I guess they're on called the Teeth, and it's like these big, jagged pieces of land. And her husband died when his ship got caught on one of those. But we're opening up here they see another ship that's caught out there, and they don't think that they can go out there and save them, and they'll probably die. So they leave them on their own. And then next day, and of course it's freezing and blizzards and bitter cold, everything. And so it's got a very atmospheric kind of gray, white palette to it, which is, adds to the chill. And then like a barrel of salt pork comes off that ship and floats up, and they're like, we're going to go get that other stuff out there from that ship that wrecked. And when they get out there are other survivors still there, and so they try to get onto their boat, and there's like fighting, and people are killed, and bodies wash up. And so the people on the island feel like they've got a curse on them now called the Dragur, and they start dying one by one. And the cool thing about it has that one thing where everybody's stoic. I don't like movies where everybody's stoic, but it's a folk horror movie, and it's just got such a great setting, and it's got a little twist to it, and it's just very atmospheric and frigid and white and watery and Arctic. So it's a pretty cool folk horror.
Where do you see this?
Hulu.
Hulu. Okay. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Does it just scare you to death?
No. Well, maybe. I don't know. I know you don't like being scared at all, so yeah, maybe a little scare. But it's folk horror, so and it's got kind of a. Well, I don't want to say anymore.
Okay.
Wayne, you got a movie?
I do. I'm going to recommend 1972's The Ruling Class.
Okay.
Has Peter O'Toole, who was nominated for Best Actor in it, but he described this movie as a comedy with tragic relief. It's about the Earl of Guernsey, who has decided that he is Jesus. And the he's an embarrassment to the family. They want him cured. And as sometimes happens, the cure might be worse than the disease.
Okay.
But I don't want to give too much away on it. It's a kind of a long movie. It's directed by Peter Medak, who did The Changeling, which I know you like.
Yep. The George C. Scott one. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay.
I remember that from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The wet ball bouncing down the stairs.
Oh, yeah, it's a good scary one.
Yeah.
It's a classic horror.
Yeah.
When things move by themselves, that's what scares me.
Yeah.
Well, this has a very dark side to it, but it's mostly really funny, and it's turns into a musical in a couple of moments. It's all kind of a fantasy thing, but it's one of those movies that you watch and you never quite get it out of your head.
Okay.
And I saw it. I think I saw it when I was 14. And it's
well, I know
never
you
left
weren't
me.
14 yet in 72. So.
No, I was 12 in 72.
So it had been out.
Yeah, I think I went to UT to see it.
Okay. Wow. What's a 14-year-old going to a university to see a movie?
Because I found out they had movies.
It's just amazing.
Yeah,
I'm impressed by that. I'm not insulting you. I'm just
we
like,
used to-
my God. When I was 14, I'm like, can I have money for,
Well, you were in Maryville. I was in
know.
Knoxville. They could drop me off at the bus stop, and I could catch the bus and go to
Oh, wow. Yeah, no,
UT or to downtown or
I
whatever.
didn't take the bus in there.
I used to ride my bike to the Strip to go to the record store.
Yeah.
I used to ride my bike all over
I still ride my bike all over.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Okay.
but yeah, and that's it was of course they don't do it that much anymore. But that was a good tip for people for years. Is you go see cheap movies at at your university. They would have great films.
Yeah, I realized that when I was going to the university.
Saw John Waters, like Polyester at UT.
I think I saw every John Waters movie I saw at UT.
I saw Women in Love, and it had the nude wrestling scene between Oliver Reed and who was it?
Bates.
And I tell you what, they
Bates.
did not manscape back then.
No,
But anyway,
it looked like two hairy bears.
Yeah,
Yes.
two hairy bears wrestling over by a fireplace. Like, okay.
John Waters had a perverse sense of humor.
Well, that wasn't
Still
John
does.
Waters. That was Ken Russell.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
But
Never mind.
But yeah, I saw so many great movies at UT, and it turned out that who I later became friends with. Jack Stiles is one of the guys who was programming all those movies. Which we always looked forward to the calendar because they put out a calendar every year, and he would put Harry Dean Stanton in every movie.
Well, he was.
Well, that was the joke. I mean, he seemed like he was in every movie for a while, but Jack put him in The Sound of Music, and
Just put him in there even
Rules
when he
of the
wasn't in there.
Game, yeah, all sorts of things.
All right, John, you got a music?
I do. I discovered, and it turns out I already had a reference to this. It's a Los Angeles group called Wand, and they're sort of spooky psychedelic garage rock. Wouldn't sound out of place on a Nuggets record, but they changed their style over the years. They've got a bunch of albums. Their first album came out in 2014, 2015, 2015, 2017, 2018. Their newest one is 2014. It's called Vertigo. Corey Hansen is the lead singer, and he's also a solo artist, and he's put out some really good solo records too.
Okay.
He's got a real nice high voice, and I just really like it. Very entertaining.
Okay.
Their style has changed a bunch over the years, but there's
And
basically
the name
sort of
the group
psychedelic.
Is Wand?
Wand.
Wand. Okay, a psychedelic sound. All right. Well, so I'm going to do one, and this is kind of in honor of it being our anniversary and something that I learned and all blah, 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 but it all ties together. But the Blondie album, Auto American, from 1980, it came out long before I was writing about music, and I think their whole careers, Blondie's careers, were over before I was... No, they did some stuff. Yeah. Anyway, it was produced in Los Angeles by Mike Chapman, and it's the band's sixth album, and it's one of those albums, one of the very few albums that I would listen to from beginning to end, even with all the stylistic changes. Chris Stein, who's kind of the main man for the group, and of course Debbie Harry, his girlfriend for a long time, who was the singer. And it had, and Chrysalis Records, they said that, or Chrysalis Records, depends on how you pronounce that word. There I go again with those. I've heard both, I swear. I remember someone from Chrysalis saying Chrysalis Records. And
I've always said Chrysalis.
I have too, but anyway, and I think Chrysalis is right, but that woman stuck in my head. Anyway, she said, or the record company said they didn't hear any hits on the album, and it produced number one, The Tide is High, and number one, Rapture. Tide is High was a reggae song, and Rapture was the first rap song to ever hit number one on the American mainstream charts. So it's kind of groundbreaking in a way. Of course, Rapture does not stand up to rap music today, but it's interesting if you see people looking like, oh, okay, well, they had some stuff going on with that song. And it had a great range to it. It had a symphonic kind of orchestrated opening, and it had like a cocktail lounge song that I love Debbie Harry's delivery on, called "Here's Looking at You." And it was ambitious. It had a surreal song called "Angels on the Balcony" and a country tinge song called "Go Through It." I thought it was an extraordinary song, but critics didn't like it. And one critic, Tom Carson, just savaged it in Rolling Stone. He gave it 1 star. And It was ridiculously over the top and melodramatic about basically how Chris Stein is ruining music. and he just like going on and on. And, we talked about how early critics, and this would have been in the early 80s, how they were just mean on top of mean. And sometimes
some kind of an
fun.
axe to grind or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. And it was just like beyond. I mean, other reviews were mixed, but this one was just like, he just went in for blood. And at one point he said and this is interesting that we say this, but at one point it's like watching a god-awful Ken Russell movie. I mean, it's like really offensively mean. But I looked up and followed up the Tim Carson tale on this. And he said, he eventually became a film critic and was doing other art things and left music criticism behind, like in the mid '80s. Uh-huh. And he did an interview with someone, and he said that, that the whole idea of what we were doing, what critics were even doing, and how music reviews now are different, and how just the whole thought process and everything behind critics has changed so much. And he said, critics didn't take pop stars seriously. And I love this quote from him. And he said, "Should we really have thought long and hard about Olivia Newton-John?" He said, "But no." And he said, "Probably."
Well, good.
I'm like, yeah, that's it. It's like that was my whole problem with critics. Pop singers and pop stars, especially women, were just totally dismissed out of hand. And rock bands were like supposedly going to change the world. And something like Blondie, if it didn't meet the criteria, then it's ruining a whole genre of music. And then Olivia Newton-John has as big a hit, and it's like, whatever. Yeah. And so to hear him turn around and say, we probably should have been analyzing these other bands too. So I like that.
Well, that's good. Well, I like it when people grow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously he did.
Yeah. It made me feel vindicated, because I always, in the beginning of my career, which is kind of when he left, was just talking about those pop stars and people who were overlooked by most critics, who were also having a big impact on a lot of people, but just being dismissed out of hand.
Yeah. Well, I think we've talked about that before.
We have.
That's happened.
Yep.
And history is the prover.
Yep. And they're paying for it now, because ain't many rock bands around, but you can't hide from all the women, singers now. So anyway, thank you everybody for a year that's been interesting, fun, and bringing me a new friend in John, and bonding Wayne and I together even more. I love that we can fight and fight and fight and fight and never hurt each other's feelings.
You always say you fight and fight and fight, and I've never
You haven't
seen
heard
it.
us.
You haven't heard us. Shut up. Shut up, John. We've had about enough of you. But anyway.
It's just because y'all are just both nice guys. You're not going to fight.
Thank you. Anyway, please keep listening, and you can email us.
We'll start season 2, or we'll just extend season 1 next week.
I'm thinking we're going to extend season 1. I don't know if I can handle it.
I don't want to do all that work.
It's one long season.
Yeah,
it's like music is just one big blob.
Yeah, it just goes on and on, just like we're doing right now. So, thank you very much, and we'll be back.
You've been listening to How We Heard It with Chuck Campbell and Wayne Bledsoe, a podcast about music, movies, art, culture, whatever it is that's on their mind. How We Heard It was recorded at the Arbor Studio in Knoxville, Tennessee by me, John Baker. How We Heard It is a Cozy Planet production. If listening to this podcast has given you a burning sensation, then we recommend you sit in a hot tub until your symptoms fade away. If you'd like to reach out to Chuck or Wayne, or even me, you can send an email to howweheardit@gmail.com. So thank you for listening, and come on back and we'll have another episode for you next week.